President Trump backs off his stance to separate children detained at the border.
Today, he signed an executive order putting an end to that policy after facing mounting pressure. KCAL 9 political reporter Bryan joins us now with the rare day in the Trump presidency in which he actually backed it down, Dave.
That's right. This was a loss for the president. There's no two ways about it. And he doesn't like losing. So tonight, he's moving on. President Trump didn't waste any time after signing the executive order. He immediately hopped onto Air Force One and headed to a rally in northern Minnesota, iron mining country, where he primarily changed the subject because losing is not something the president wants to talk about.
And by the way, today I signed an executive order. We're going to keep families together, but the border is going to be just as tough as it's been.
That was it. In a speech Wednesday night that ran just short of an hour, President Trump barely even mentioned the executive order he signed Wednesday that would end the practice of separating children from their parents who were detained at the border. Just one more sign that he sees this as a bitter political defeat, so why talk about it? But it doesn't mean the president won't highlight immigration as the cornerstone of his midterm congressional campaign. A take-no-prisoners attack on immigrants and Democrats, stopping just short of calling them anti-American, anti-patriotic traitors to the American people who will destroy your neighborhoods.
Democrats don't care about the impact of uncontrolled migration on your communities, your schools, your hospitals, your jobs, or your safety. Democrats put illegal immigrants before they put American citizens. What the hell is going on?
Just a few hours earlier, President Trump actually signed the executive order that would temporarily prevent the practice of separating children from their parents who are detained at the border.
We're going to keep the families together. I didn't like the sight or the feeling of families being separated.
He also didn't care for the heat he was getting from the First Lady and his daughter on the family separations.
Ivanka feels very strongly. My wife feels very strongly about it. I feel very strongly about it. I think anybody with a heart would feel very strongly about it.
But for several days, the president and administration officials were telling anyone who would listen that the president could not stop the family separations. Only Congress could change that law.
Congress and the courts created this problem, and Congress alone can fix it.
We passed some legislation, we closed some loopholes. We won't face these terrible choices.
The Democrats have to change their law.
It's Congress's job to change the law. We're calling on them to do exactly that.
Suddenly, to the surprise of almost everyone, the president signed the order that will change, at least temporarily, the family separation practice. It allows families to be held together for 20 days. But after that, they must either be deported as a group or separated. The Trump administration says that's why Congress does still have to take action. Some Democrats are not impressed.
There are a number of ways to solve the family separation issue. Donald Trump picked one of the worst ways, which is to try to reverse an actual court settlement. In this case, what they could do is, after 20 days, let the family go and have them come back for the court hearing.
But Trump administration officials charge that won't work because the parents rarely show up for the court hearings. And the administration says the 2,300 or so kids who have already been separated from their families will not immediately be reunited with them.
That's the big issue, because there is no plan to reunite these parents with their children. These 2,300 children that are at the Border Patrol have no way of knowing where their parents are, nor the parents where their children are.
And after a day of confusion caused by Mr. Trump's sudden about-face, both Homeland Security and Health and Human Services say tonight they are awaiting guidance on exactly what, if anything, they can do to help children and their parents who are already separated get back together. Juan, Lena, back to you. All right.